Today, let's make some bread pudding, and this video is brought to you by Javy Coffee. I'm going to use their caramel coffee concentrate to make this beautiful bourbon caramel sauce to put over our bread pudding. Javy is amazing to use in all kinds of things because there's an incredible amount of flavor with all kinds of different varieties of flavor to use in hot coffees, cold coffees, and all sorts of desserts. Check out my Javy playlist at the end of the video. So let's make our sauce first. I'm gonna add some sugar into a pan along with a bit of water as well. Just mix this up and we will be caramelizing the sugar. So right now, keep a mental picture of what this color looks like. It's nice and bright white, and when we'll be done with it, this would have turned into a nice golden brown, almost honey-like color. Now make sure that your heat is on medium high and you let this sugar and water mixture untouched. Don't whisk it any further. After you've done the initial mixing, it's gonna come up to a simmer, and you want to let that simmer quite vigorously until it starts to change color. If at any point you stir it, you shake it before it has changed color, before it has caramelized, then you're gonna ruin this caramel. And it'll take a few minutes, but when it does start to look like this, there's some golden brown, almost honey-like color in the sugar, it won't take long for it to go to the other extreme, so keep a close eye. And when most of that mixture has become that color, then you take the sugar off the heat and then you add in your cream right away. Now, because we're adding some room temperature, maybe even cold cream into a hot sugar mixture, it might make a lot of noise as you add it in, but just be careful and just patiently add in the cream as you whisk away. Don't like plop it all in the pan. Once you've added all the cream in, add in the butter. That's gonna help give the sauce a nice shine, a nice sheen, and eventually the bubbling will stop and the sauce will start looking really smooth, really pretty, just like this. Now, if you're just looking for a simple, a base caramel recipe, you can just stop here and start adding in whatever you want to make this your own. We're gonna turn this into a nice coffee bourbon caramel sauce. I'm also gonna add a nice tablespoon of this Javy coffee caramel concentrate. I love Javy for all kinds of fun flavors that they have. Just mix that in. It's a beautiful, rich, dark brown color. And I'm also gonna add in a couple tablespoons of the whiskey as well. Mix that in there. And if you really want vanilla, I really want it, add some of it right in here. About a teaspoon should be great. And then mix this up. Now you can serve this fresh. I'm just gonna let this sit while I now focus on the bread pudding. It will thicken significantly as it cools down. Now you can check out all the different flavors of Javy that they have and really tweak the flavors of this caramel, because this caramel will stay good in the fridge for a couple of days, maybe at least a dozen. So you can really make all kinds of different batches of caramel to put in coffee or whatever else you like. So while that goes on, let's talk about our bread. I'm using this nice brioche bread. I like it because it's nice and soft. It'll absorb all of our butter and egg, basically a custard mixture, pretty well. And it's nice and buttery. It's gonna be amazing. And this next thing applies to me but may not apply for you. But I don't always want to make a huge casserole of bread pudding or brownie or stuff like that. I want to get a nice small portion, maybe like for two, for one, and it's just more fun to enjoy. And then you don't have leftovers, and then you can have new things every day. So we're gonna do this in a small casserole, which will be perfect for 2 to maybe 4 people if you really stretch it out. And while you can cut it in perfect cubes, I would just prefer tearing the bread to have some nice rusticness into the texture of our pudding. And yeah, this bread is not stale, it's very soft and to get the best texture, it's preferable to use stale bread. That's why it's so great to have bread pudding. Just reuse old bread and turn it into something magical. But you can do two things. To dry it out a bit, you can just let it sit on the cutting board while you do other stuff, while you make the sauce. But if it's still not dry enough to the touch, it's still like very soft basically, put it all in a baking sheet or on a pan and then roast it lightly until it has dried up, not to the extent that it turns into croutons, but like about a third, maybe half of the way to a crouton. In just about 10 minutes, the bread is nice and toasted. So we just let that cool down and you can see that it's crispy, but it's still spongy. That's what we want. Okay, so now we have our milk, which we'll use to make the custard. Bring that up to a simmer. Now you can see the milk is nicely steaming. There's a bit of bubbles along the edges. Good time to add in some sugar to sweeten this. This is the main sweetener for our bread pudding. I'm gonna add in just about a quarter cup. And I'm also gonna add in some vanilla. Stir, stir, stir. You can see the nice bubbles on the edges. Turn off the heat and we'll set this aside for a few minutes until it cools down just a little bit. So here's the setup. We have our eggs, we have a milk that's cooling down, and let's put in our bread into the casserole. You can see it's like a smaller casserole, not like a full, I don't know, 9 by 13 square casserole or rectangular casserole. And now our warm milk, start to slowly add that as you whisk. And once all the milk has been added in, the texture should be nice and smooth and liquidy like this and not curdled. I'm gonna season that custard with a bit of cinnamon. You can add some nutmeg there too if you want. Give it a quick whisk. And then make sure there's no gaps with the bread. Then start adding in your egg mixture into your bowl. I'm just gonna switch to a ladle to make sure I get all of the bread. And I am not a fan when it comes to raisins, and I will not be adding raisins to this bread pudding, but you can feel free to add the raisins in if you want. Instead, I'll be adding in some chocolate chips. And we'll let it bake until this pudding has become set. For me, it took just around 35 to 40 minutes to get a perfect pudding. You can make sure it's actually completely done, completely set by putting a skewer or a knife through, and you should get some moist crumbs and nothing wet. If you get no moist, then you just overcooked it too much, so it's gonna be a bit drier. Cut out a slice. Look at how great that just looks. And put some ice cream over the top. Hey, what the hell? And then don't forget to put in that coffee, bourbon, caramel sauce just everywhere. It's just such a luxurious sauce, and I'm really happy with how all of this turned out. Alrighty, y'all, this dessert is honestly out of this world. That's just so good. I love chocolate, you know that. You know that. Those chocolates are amazing. I want you to go and subscribe for more videos just like this. Thank you for Javy for making me inspired to make another dessert with their awesome Javy coffee concentrates. And for more videos just like this, stay tuned. Bye guys.